Pagan Coffee Talk. If you enjoy our content, please consider donating and following our socials. Now, here are your hosts, Lady Alba and Lord Knight.
Okay, Lord Knight, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, the wee little babies.
The wee little babies? The wee little babies.
I'm allergic.
To what? Wee little babes?
It's Wiccanings.
What are they?
What are they? It's a damn good question.
I mean, are they actually, seriously, are they really a part of the religion?
No, I don't believe so.
Or was it just something to mimic other religions?
A baptism.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all a lot of it is. I think it was, a way to mirror what happens
Maybe
in other
faiths. Maybe even slightly flip the bird to
Christianity. Yeah, probably. But it's also just the idea that you dedicate a child to a faith.
Right.
So Wiccaning became a way to commit to raising your child.
Right.
In craft.
Right. For us, it became more about the parents than the child itself.
Oh, absolutely. It is an interesting thing, though. There's no standardization.
No.
For the ritual at all.
Now, don't get me wrong. We know some people, they swear by them.
Well, I think what's interesting is twofold. One, people get very concerned, right, when they have a child about making sure that it's dedicated to the goddess. But meantime, it's like, well, okay, there's not really a rush, right? We're not beating the clock to save this child's immortal soul.
I mean,
yeah,
we don't believe that, so
right. So you could have a Wiccaning at the age of 2 months. You could have a Wiccaning at the age of 3 years. Does it really matter?
Does it?
No. I think as long as it's done while they're little, that's really the key. I think that what you're doing is introducing some of the magic and the mysteries to them at a very, very young age where they become susceptible to certain practices and certain things that adults, right?
Well, now, let me ask this then.
Mm-hmm.
But they are being exposed to energies.
Mm-hmm.
They are inside of a circle.
Well,
just asking.
They are, but I think more important than that, let's go back a step. Is the mother an initiate? If you have an initiate of craft, bringing a baby to term, and then bringing it into this world, what does that mean?
Means throughout her pregnancy, the baby has been exposed to that energy.
Mm-hmm. Does it not also mean, and I think there are quite a few people that believe this, that the baby, by transmutation through the mother, is born an initiate?
To some degree, yes.
Okay. So, right, because, I mean, you literally now have a piece of the initiate's composition. I mean, you can call it DNA if you want, but, out there, separate from her. Now, does the same hold true at the moment of conception? If the father is an initiate? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. I think there's, something.
I mean, it's all, well, in our traditions, they're all more, these things are all placed more at the feet of the women, thinking, y'all were the providers of lives. Y'all were the ones that are placing that energy there, not us.
Well,
I know we are to some extent.
I mean, that's rough because I feel like that degrades then the seed, the very life-giving force of a male initiate.
Okay.
It's interesting because, yes, I think most women are just inclined to go, yeah, it's because of the womb, the vessel, the divine feminine. But hello, the divine masculine, right?
It does exist.
It's there too.
I mean, there is a connection between father and their kids.
And I mean, there's so many things that get passed down And I think when it comes to craft, yeah, children who are conceived in it, it is a little different.
Yeah.
And I think that that really is the key, that they are being conceived in craft.
Yes.
Which, of course, then, right, it goes down a whole other bunny trail of, the great rite and the sacred nature of sex. And was it a deliberate act of creation? And,
versus
whoopsie.
Oops.
Yeah. There's a lot to take into consideration there. And then the other piece becomes, okay, so if mom's an initiate and the baby is born into the faith, a Wiccaning is almost unnecessary.
But now let me ask. Now, the energy's there. Now, again, we typically don't believe that the soul locks in until that first breath, right? Mm-hmm. So that way, until that happens, anything's up for grabs.
Yeah.
All right. So how does that maybe affect someone who was born of craft? This process. Does it allow more of the soul self to cross over?
You mean during a Wiccaning or at birth?
At birth. After someone being born this way.
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, in theory, we could, as a community, potentially as the parents, right, be having an influence on how that soul enters that vessel.
Yes.
And what that soul is exactly. I don't know. It seems logical, though.
But you're with what I'm saying.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's at that point, right? It's like tracks like. I mean, there's something to it. And then the rest is what you teach them.
What they pick up.
Yeah. But Wiccanings have become this kind of funny little thing. I mean, they're cute.
I mean, it's not like you're going to sit. It's not like either one of us are going to sit there and go, "Oh no, we'll never do that."
No,
I mean, one of our people come and go, "Hey, Wiccan, okay."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a beautiful idea.
Yeah,
is it necessary? No. Like, is your child or your family missing anything because the child has not been Wiccaned? Would that be the problem?
Well, now, alone, just doing the ritual itself.
Yeah.
All right. The coven getting together to do this Wiccaning. Mm-hmm. That seems to me that would bring in more familial ties between the coven members, too.
Oh, of course. I mean, because at that point, I think for us, one of the big distinctions is the idea of godparents, right, is honestly kind of stupid.
Yeah.
You have an entire coven of godparents. Like, we're all this child's godparents. So what does that even mean, right? It's not like you are designating one specific person to help guide or assist that child in their religious upbringing should something happen to mom and dad. You have the whole village, right? So,
thank you.
Yeah, so it seems a little odd, if you will.
Well, I mentioned this because I remember this one time we were all at ritual. One of our members had just had a baby, had brought it over. The baby cried like 2 seconds. 5 women jumped up and ran.
God, I was just going to say that. I remember, vividly. It was so funny because I watched it. I sat back and I literally, it's not an exaggeration. 5 or 6 women shot up like their lives depended on it and ran to this bedroom. And I was just like, y'all are going a little bit overboard, but okay.
And what the Lord men said, nah, that kid wouldn't be spoilt at all in this place.
Just leave them be. Let them do what they're doing. That's fine. But yeah, it's very interesting. We're not missing out on anything. Baby's not missing out on anything. And then the reality is, if you have a child being brought up in craft from year 0, then more than likely they're being considered for first degree as young as 13.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the first real age of rite.
Now, I have noticed a change in the community as far as teaching kids, raising them pagan, like you would, like the Christians raise their kids in the whole 9 yards. When we first came into this, there was very big much of a taboo against doing so.
Oh, of course.
But now I see that less and less. Do you think this is going to be a positive or a negative thing for us?
Oh, I think it's a combination because I've seen both sides of it. I've seen the side where you have a kid who's being raised in a very religiously open and they have a lot of freedom to explore and to learn different things. And mom and dad are very big on the idea of, yeah, we're not just going to confine you to one faith. We're going to teach you and let you explore and decide later in life. And then I've also seen some situations where it seems like the pagan parents are teaching their kid an awful lot of hate and a lot of mom and dad's anger and distrust of organized religions, of other faiths, of religious communities starts to greatly influence the child.
Yes.
And it's a little angry community. And that concerns me. That has worried me for quite some time. It has always been, I don't know, it seems counterintuitive to me to take some of the Christian concepts and apply them, even though I don't even think people realize that that's what they're doing, right? The idea of being a soldier for God and taking up arms and being a soldier for Christ, right? These are very common ideas in certain Christian sects. And so effectively, that's what you're doing. You're teaching your kid that, they're supposed to war and defend and
be a little bit more militant.
Yeah, but that can be a little scary at such a young age. You're really instilling ideas into these children that they have to fight. Right.
Now, don't anybody get us wrong. I have no problem with kids learning self-defense.
Nope, not at all.
Whatsoever. I encourage it.
My point is merely there is a difference between activism and faith.
Thank you.
Yes. You can be an activist. You can absolutely be an activist, but do not mistake it for religion.
Mixing the two never ends well.
I see it a lot now in our community where people are like, yes, they step up as, I'm priest or priestess so-and-so, or here's my path, or here's my beliefs. But on the backs of that, there's a whole laundry list of additional titles and things that these individuals are doing that, really come down to activism. And it's like, wait a minute. That's intense. One is political. Yes, it has social ramifications, but look, this also still gets me back to, I have a lot of issue with the pagans that are, going, we have to heal the earth. We do.
I'm not going to go through the laundry list. All right.
That's another episode for sure. For sure. That's another episode. But it's this, why? What makes... Look, I'm all for, get out there, do a volunteer day of cleanup, like go pick up litter, go, do something productive that benefits the community, the area, the planet. But also, let's be realistic, I mean, here we are on the cusp of this eclipse that everybody's talking about. There's been 2 or 3 major earthquakes in the last week. Trust me, she can take care of her own.
We are not required.
No, I mean, I do understand the need or the feeling to offset or to be mindful of your environmental impact, of course.
Again, we all want to drink clean water. We all want to breathe clean air. We all want to live in clean areas.
Yeah, but again, to just have this belief that it's up to us to fix.
I was once on a podcast, on a Christian podcast, and the guy asked me, he's like, "What do you think's wrong with the world?" My response is, "What makes you think there's something wrong with the world?" Just because it's not going the way you like.
Right.
Again, we're back to perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. But I do think, modern man gets them all mixed up. it's another discussion. But yes, but kids, they're malleable, they're pliable. And I think at any age is a realistic age to foster that interest. They don't have to be dedicated. They don't have to be on a path to initiation to necessarily confirm their early beliefs.
No.
I think it's more important, truthfully, that we help them to learn not only our cyclical calendar and the holidays and the various, but in other faiths as well, so they can see
the differences.
Yeah, and the overlap and the
common.
Yes,
the fancy.
Yeah, the familiarity.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's just more important to expose that child to enough religious content that's age appropriate, that they're able to function no matter the
what's
setting.
Going on.
Yes. I think that is a far more spiritual path than what we often tend to see,
I'd actually agree with you.
Yeah.
About ready for some coffee?
Sure, always. All right. So now that Lord Oswin has started smoking meat and it's wafting in my direction. So now all I want is smoked meaty goodness.
Just prop your feet up. We will have it done shortly.
I know. All right. So let's talk about hiving. We've never talked about hiving, have we?
No.
Okay. It's a relatively straightforward process, I think.
I mean, it's nothing complicated. There's no secrets here.
No. Well, it is complicated. There are a few elements of it that are complicated, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so hiving is really just someone...
Let me ask you this. Why would somebody want to hive? What's the purpose of it?
Usually it is because someone of second degree or higher has come to a place in their knowledge of craft where they have begun their own lecture series and they want to teach what they want to teach. And it's usually rooted in their mother coven and what they learned as a student, but it's a little different and they want an opportunity to do it their way. I mean, I really feel like that's all it is. The other thing that is common for a hive is that you're moving.
Yeah.
And if you're moving out of the area, your only option in many cases is simply to start your own. So that's all. So what's the first step?
First step?
Yeah, because if somebody came to you and was like, I want a hive.
Well, that would be the first step.
Okay.
And, hey, I want a meeting with y'all, and here's my goals.
Okay.
And this is why. And then we start to facilitate.
Okay.
And I think depending on what's going on there, we would handle it maybe a little bit differently.
In what way?
Well, if they're moving away, I assume they're going to be moving so far away that it's not going to be
It's not reasonable,
It's not reasonable.
For them to travel back and forth.
And it might not even be reasonable for us to go see them on a regular basis.
Okay.
To get your third, you're sort of supervised.
Right.
By your
elder.
Yeah,
typically. Yeah.
So again, you might wind up having to run the mother temple for a little while to get the experience you need to be a third degree.
Yes. That's pretty common, yeah.
All right. Versus someone who, I want to go across town.
Sure.
And nothing funky going on. I'm just slightly different, whatever. And I still want to be part of y'all, but go over here and do my...
Yeah.
Now, that person, we could probably go see on a regular basis, so they might start their temple. We would just every so often show up for one of the rituals.
Yeah, and be an advisor and help out with, usually, honestly, it's more the mundane stuff.
Oh, now that on the other hand.
It's really, I think the first major component of a hive is the infrastructure.
Yep.
It's getting yourself set up as a 501c3. It's filling out the state and government paperwork. It is determining your tenants. It is, literally your structure. And then determining things like lecture series.
Right.
And those specific components, and it can take a while. It's not a fast thing.
No. I mean, again, this is not something you do not just decide to.
No. And even the term hive, right? To be a hive, to be a recognized hive, means that there's no animosity, there's no problem between you and the mother coven.
Right.
You're now just an affiliate.
Right. You're still running
a franchise.
you may even still be running under the same 501c3.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
All right. So again, that's a up from coming off a traditional group that has it, is that they can extend it to you once you get to a certain...
Right, and you just become another location in which the coven operates, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting process. You know, not everybody's meant to do it. Not everyone's meant to lead.
No.
But a lot of people have a very strong pull for that. Typically speaking, once everything is set up, if I'm not mistaken, right, it's the first year and a day, you are completely under the...
You have an elder breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
Just to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. They're in your affairs.
Right.
They're in everything.
Well, and again, you can't blame us on the other hand, because again, that 501c falls on us.
Well, sure. It's also a reflection. It's a reflection of the elder and what they've done out in the community in a new way. And they've got to make sure that
these people are not in jeopardizing by doing something they're not supposed to be doing. I mean, again, the federal government gets upset when you don't do these finances quite correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Well, and also I think it's not until someone starts their own group or takes over a group that they really begin to understand all of the intricacies of what goes on.
It's always that grass is always greener on the other side.
Oh, dear God, yes.
Until you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I caution against it because I'm always like, listen, you become at some point almost so involved in the administrative that you lose some of your own spiritual quest in the process.
Yeah.
The mundane can really take over.
Oh, it's easily done.
And it sucks. You yourself, ironically, can become disenfranchised by franchising.
Yes.
Yeah. That being said, it can be fulfilling. It can be worthwhile. It definitely changes the root coven's position in the community.
Yes.
Right? Once you've got people hiving off of you.
You also get that extra buckle.
Mm-hmm. Well, have we ever talked about the garter?
Huh? I don't know.
Yeah. For us, it's the understanding that a priestess who has directly hived other groups wears a garter. The initial buckle represents the main coven, her institution, and then buckles are added
as each hive happens.
Now, what I've seen in recent years is some groups, I don't want to name specifics just in case.
You're right.
I think some people are in favor of the garter switching to bracelets and
like the charm bracelets.
Yes, something that's basically the same idea. This is the loop,
right? The
main binding, and then here are my babies,
right?
Off of it, yeah. I've seen ankle bracelets. I've seen different variations thereof.
I mean, I still like the tradition being kept up, regardless of what form it's in.
Yeah, it's actually something that I've had a talk with a few different priestesses as they're coming up about, because it seems to get people really confused of like, well, how do I get a leather, like a leather belt for my thigh? And I'm like, easy, a dog collar.
Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous, but yes, you go to PetSmart and you measure your own thigh up against a leather dog collar that can be added to and adjusted over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And it works quite well.
Good figure.
Yeah. And truthfully, it's going to be a little bit more comfortable than just having like a rigid piece of leather tooled for the job, although that can work too. I'm sorry,
go to any Tractor Supply place. Yeah. They have...
Well, bear in mind, Tractor Supply doesn't exist everywhere. I know. What? I know that's hard for you to believe. I know.
What?
I know. I had never seen a Tractor Supply before moving down here. I was literally like, holy shit. They sell tractors and supplies. Yeah. I was stunned. Then I went in one and I was like, this is fun.
A witch could get in trouble.
Yeah. But their dog stuff is excellent. But yeah, you could do that. I've also seen Renfest usually has at least one or two leather merchants that customize.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could always have one of them do it. They're thrilled to, but boy, are you going to pay for it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I think it's one of the few things that's passed on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not destroyed upon your passing. It's actually given to whoever takes over.
Takes over.
And they just continue it and keep adding to it.
I mean, still love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I can actually see it get to the point to where, well, we still have the bracelet. I do wear it, but it just sort of sits on its own little cart because we can't pick it up anymore.
Yeah, it's too heavy to wear practically. Could see that happening, actually.
Yeah.
The hiving process, I think nowadays, there's less hiving happening.
Yeah.
But I think more often now, what we do see is when a group becomes too large, it's almost a forced hive. Because, let's be honest, like if our group was pushing 20 members that were active every single month, we'd be in trouble. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have a clue.
No, we would be on that. And I feel like for most of us, that's it. Between 20 and 30.
Yeah.
Is really the time where you have to go, either we're going to have to really change the administrative of how we run this, or we're going to have to split the group in two.
Right.
Yeah. We'll come together for the big stuff, but for the common day to day, yeah.
Well, again, this is, from my understanding, that's what originally started, the gathers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
They were more like a homecoming.
Yeah. And you figure, people think it's, when they hear us say it, when they hear, that it's only on average between 10 and 15 people participating in a typical event, I think people go, oh, that's so few. And you're like, yeah, it's really not, though.
No, it's not.
Not when you're as hands-on as we tend to be. It's a lot. It's a lot, especially running out of someone's house usually.
Yeah. Everybody has lives. Everybody has different ways of doing things. A lot of these people are married to people who are not of their faith.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of households where you're still having to do all the Christian things and go out to all the Christian holidays and still go to all of ours.
It is. It's a lot. And we still see where, I hate to say it, but the majority of members, the mundane is still first.
Yes.
For so many people. And there's a rare few that dedicate ourselves to the other side. Look, I say it all the time. I can't wait till I can actually retire from working because I can read the books I've been wanting to read, and I can, I can do things for the lecture series that I haven't been able to dedicate my time. I literally, in a way, realize retirement is going to be how I dedicate myself to craft fully. And that's wild to think, but yeah.
Did we not see our elders do the same thing?
Yeah. Definitely.
After Lord Min retired, he threw himself into... Oh, my
goodness, did he ever... Oh, boy. That was crazy.
To the point where we're kind of like, maybe you should just calm down.
Lady Santana was in her 70s, and you would never have known that she wasn't still running the show. It kind of seemed like it from the outside. Honestly. Yeah. As a first degree, I was like, what do you mean you're not active? This is pretty damn active.
When you sit there and see Lady Maya turn around to her high priestess and start acting like, you're sitting back going, seriously, you're telling me she's not pulling the string just a little.
Isn't that, it's the craziest thing. And she really did. Up until the end, she was always like taking phone calls and helping with, lectures and guest writing, and they were little things, but it was so frequent and it was with such regularity that it was hard to believe that She was quote unquote, she was retired from craft.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Okay.
Yeah. But I also think the hiving process for the person that is the origination of the hive, it's stressful. It's very stressful because you have to be aware of what your daughter covens are up to all the time.
Yep.
All the time. And that never really ceases. You never get to...
You always worry for that, well, such and such coven was out and this is what, and you're going, oh God.
Yep. Yeah, you're always, and I hate to say it, but sometimes, right, when a baby is forced to fly the nest, they make mistakes. And then that has to be reined in, and somebody has to figure out what needs to be done to fix it. Sometimes it's minor, and sometimes it's major, and it just depending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress. And then you go, okay, now I have to go deal with this. And your own group effectively gets put on hold.
When you go deal with.
Yeah, while you go do that. It's kind of wild. And the more of them there are, I don't think you take vacations anymore. You just bop around and visit your covens. Like you just, it's really all that's left to do. Yeah.
You just hope you have enough for each one for a different Sabbath.
I mean, I guess, right? Like what other choice is there, really? Anything else about hiving that's...
I don't think so. I just wanted to make sure people understood. It's not always a bad thing.
Nah.
In fact, I never thought of it as...
No, I don't think so either. Because, I mean, if somebody's, like, really pounding their fist, you know, kind of going like, I want to do my own thing, I want to hive, that's your... No, you're not ready. No. No,
and the indication would be the temper tantrum.
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's the feeling of the need of, I know something better, and I know another way, and I'm going to go prove it. And you're, okay, no. Well... Let me know how that works.
All right. Because I know how it ends.
Yeah. But often I think when that happens, it's less of a hive and just more the blessing to say, okay,
all right,
go forth. But I'm not necessarily claiming you yet.
No. You can go off and do whatever you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have our umbrella either.
Yeah. That's the key. Mm-hmm.
So.
And those umbrellas become important.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want some more coffee?
Yeah.
Come on, unicorn.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning